Welcome back to the Healthy Business Podcast. I'm Ty King from American Business Engine, and with me,
Jessica Tolliver.
Jessica.
CAM Collaborative.
CAM Collaborative.
Yes.
You're like ticking down the list. You're like, what all else do I do?
I do a lot of things. Now? I am currently doing some reorganization, and we're rebranding a portion of the business as our Shockwave Arkansas. So I'm right in the middle of reorganizing that in my brain. So I don't know who I'm with right now.
What did you say the name was?
Shockwave Arkansas.
Shockwave. Oh, nice.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. Very good. So how are you?
I'm good. I'm so happy that the weather is starting to improve. We're starting to get a little bit warmer days.
Yeah.
Still cold mornings, but I'm okay with that.
For sure. I've been just trying to catch up on projects and I've taken on such a wide variety of clients right now that like my head's just kind of everywhere this week because I've got a film business like they produce movies.
Nice.
Yeah, which is great, and they're doing really well at like all the independent film festivals right now with their movie that they've got out. So that there's them, and now I just picked up another actor who is actually his debut is like network television debut is going to be next week on Tuesday night. It's based on a true story. Renee Zellweger is like the main character, and the main actor, and he's on it too, on the show.
Is this about the
It's something called It's All About Pam or something like that is what it's called. Where I read the synopsis, I don't really know much about it, where a husband ended up dead, the wife got accused of it, but they let her go, and apparently it was an elaborate plot from this other woman that had set her up.
No, I don't know if that. There's some other things that have come up that I've been interested in, and that wasn't one of them until now.
Yeah.
That sounds interesting.
So I've got them. I've got a political candidate, which is
wow.
interesting. Yeah, I don't know if I'll ever do it again. It was just, I wanted the experience.
That's time consuming.
It's not just time consuming. There are a lot of different things going on where you're like, it'd just be so much simpler if you just did it this way. And it's like
it's a different, the political the world is a different beast for sure. I got a taste of that when I went through and got some legislation worked on, and it was just like,
I'm very surprised, like how non-business minded they are. You know what I mean? Like a lot of them have had businesses before, and like so some of them, I would say there are exceptions. Like my friend's running for Secretary of State, and he used to work for SBA, so like he has a pretty strong grasp on what that is. But like other people, I don't know. It's like you're doing the same thing. So like I'm marketing you just like I would market a business, except there's a lot more, even more psychology involved than usual. Trying to get people to like you. And that's what it's about. It's about getting people liking you. We need you to like me. So anyways, I've been watching some other stuff. So I caught, there's a new show out. I don't know, you don't watch a whole lot of TV.
No.
But.
Okay. I do, however, I don't watch new shows. I watch streaming, and we tend to watch, like when a new season of our show comes out, we'll go watch all the old seasons and then catch up the new ones. So
Okay, good.
I'm not in a hole.
This one, I think, was it on Prime? I don't know. I'll have to look it up again. No, Showtime. So it's called, you might like it. It's Super Pumped.
Okay.
Is the name of the show. And I guess each season is going to be about somebody different. But this season, this is the first time they've put it out, and like only one episode's out so far. But it's got Joseph Gordon-Levitt in it, who's always one of my favorite actors. But he plays the guy that created Uber. Okay. And it's about the story of the guy that created Uber. And it is not a hero story, but it's also not like a villain story, which was like what had me. You can like watch Social Network, right? You watch that movie? And you're like, okay, Zuckerberg, he came up, and like it's kind of like you're rooting for him, but not really, because then you know like what Facebook ends up doing, and like it's kind of that. But this guy has like strong, like great, a lot of the values that we talk about on the show, about hyping up your team, making sure everybody's happy, and not giving up on like certain aspects of your business that you want to have happen, and not. Like one of the things he says is like when he takes on a venture capitalist is that he'll take a great idea, but he will never take orders. And so you start seeing like there's like a duality there because they keep facing like I didn't know the whole story of Uber and like how they got started in San Francisco and how they were like the people that were running the city transit were the ones that were like coming after him and like giving him fines so that he would have to shut down because the money that they were getting from that was going to all kinds of other things. And so like he was disrupting a whole entire industry from powerful people. But like the way he played it, he's genius. He's really genius. But
Airbnb has a very similar story.
Really?
How they have had to fight that with the hotels. So
okay, I'll have to definitely check that out. So yeah, but like he'll have times when it's so frustrating that he'll just yell at his whole team. Like 1 minute he's just hyping them all up, we're all together. Everybody's got the same amount of stakes in this, and the next it's like everybody's an idiot and just yelling at them and like, what are you guys doing? I'm doing all the work here. It's all my, and that type of thing. So I'm sure we're gonna see a big dissent because. Like I know like a little bit about the story of the guy that started Uber, and like he kind of had a downfall, and like everybody started cloning his business model after he created that.
Well, I mean, and you bring up an interesting point that in order to be successful and to really launch a big brand, big idea, you have to almost be a little bit of an obnoxious person. You have to be able to come in and demand. Yeah. And there's a fine line between making that work and then also supporting your team and having the good environment. Like Google didn't start being Google until well after they started. Right. And then they started doing a lot more of that team stuff. I mean, they've always had a different culture, but in order to get there, and if you'll see this when you watch all of those films, you watch the Steve Jobs or any of them, there's that certain level of, I'm doing all the work and you guys suck. In almost any backstory. Yeah.
So like one thing I really learned from it was genius. This is like always do a massive amount of research before any meeting you have with somebody that's a major player. And so like before he went to the VC, he knew everything this guy had ever invested in, what his likes were, his interests, and like and how to play it towards him, how to sell this idea, and like oh my gosh, the guy was a genius salesman. And like even when he went to the mayor was like, okay, well, why should I even, he said, I'm not listening to you because we're still going to keep these fines on you and all that stuff. He said, but I'm just giving you a moment to talk. And he said, well, what do you have to say for yourself? And he said, horse crap. He said, excuse me, what does that mean? He said, well, in the early 1900s, he said we had horse crap all the way down from here to here because that's all we had was horses and carriages. But when the motor, the motor vehicles started coming in, we had this, and then we had buses, and then we had this and this and this. He said now, and he said, and he names like the name of each mayor that was the one that the decision maker to switch over city transportation in each one. He's like, are you going to go down as the mayor that didn't go with the new wave of transit?
Are you going to be the one who's lost in the shuffle, or are you going to be the one who's remembered for doing it?
Exactly.
Yeah, and for someone we were talking about this a minute ago, politicians, that they have a little bit of an ego that you have to fan it. And if you do that correctly, you'll win friends and influence people. Right. I mean, take that all the way back to, all those books that everyone says to read. Well, it stands true. Yeah.
So that's just pretty amazing. I mean, you get people excited about your idea and like what's in it for them, that type of thing. So do your homework, do your research. It's the same. It's kind of crazy. It's the same approach I take to like interviews. If I'm going to interview somebody big, I'm going to go through their back catalog and like learn everything. If they have a Wikipedia page, I'm going to read the entire thing and try to figure out as much as I can. That way I can not only ask interesting questions that not everybody's asking, not like the typical stuff, everybody's got something going on currently, right? So like when I was interviewing the people from Marvel, of course they had books that were coming out, that month or whatever, and they want to talk about it. So yeah, let's do that. But I've got all these questions about how you got started as, a copywriter for a Coca-Cola ad or something back in the 80s, that type of thing.
Well, and you're also going to endear that person that you're talking to immediately because you took the time to think about them, and you're asking a question about them, and that ingratiates you when someone cares about you. You're like, oh, well, that person's paying attention to me. Maybe I should pay attention back. Yes. And so and to that point, if you take that same mentality that you take at an interview, not just you, but this is for the audience as well. Take that same mentality of do your research, make sure that you're talking to, speaking to their likes and dislikes, and you apply that to your customers, then you have a recipe for success.
Right. Yeah. If you give that much care and attention to the details, and like you're listening to their story, you're interested. It's not just okay. I shake your hand, get your money, that type of thing. So great. So yeah, that was a long little intro we went through, but I thought it was interesting. I think you should definitely check it out. So apparently I can't wait for the next episode. But like the next season will be, about Zuckerberg. Apparently, they're going to do a deep dive into, like, I guess, since social network, what happened past that point. That's going to be interesting.
Yeah.
So today, you actually came up with the subject, and so we're going to talk about consumables for your business.
Oh, okay, cool.
Right?
Yeah.
You're like, I never heard this before. Okay, what was the other word? Consumables and
incidentals.
incidentals. That's the word you used.
Yeah. It's things that you have that don't make a profit, or how to determine when they should. So I was asking you because one of the things that I deal with people who haven't had a business before and they're starting to get into it and they're making these decisions is there's a cost to running a business, and not just the overhead and
Sure.
your licensure and all that stuff, but there's also, am I going to put candy dish in the front office? Am I going to have tissues? Is there going to be a coffee station?
Right.
Do I have branded bags I send my stuff home with? There's a lot of those different little incidentals that you use. Do you give a fresh mask to people? Is there, if you have something that have to cover their eyes, is that something they take home with them? Or do you have to think about all these different little costs. And coming from a business owner standpoint, you walk in and you're like, oh, here's some candy, it's free.
Yeah.
And oh, look, I got this hat free with whatever, or the various different things that you'll find in a business. And then when you go to the other side, you realize, wow, I got to pay for that stuff.
Yep.
And the fine line between deciding when you start charging for it, whether you have it or not, and then or you have to charge for it.
Right. Because, like you said, somebody paid for that. Like, if you're going in and, like, thinking about it from a consumer's side, like, when you were talking about this, I was thinking about so whenever I have an issue with my car or I need my oil change or whatever like that, like, I've got my place that I go to in the Hyundai Center in where I'm at in Conway. The reason I go there is because, like, I know not only are they're working on Hyundais, which is what my wife's car is, but, like, so they'll take care of that, and while they're doing that, they have like an area for people that are waiting, like a customer's area, where it's like a private sort of room with tables and, like, all kinds of stuff where I can, like, hook my computer up. I can do work from in there. It's just like being in an office. But they also have, like, a huge bar that's full of, like, cereal bars and donuts that they bought that morning, a huge, refrigerator that they keep stocked with every type of soda you can think of, or water or juice or whatever it is, full coffee station, a popcorn maker. You know what I mean? It's like they really go out to try to, I guess, make it comfortable for you to be able to sit there. And so, like, that's a draw-in for me. As a customer, that's a draw-in. I want to come and do that.
But as a new, like, if they were just opening a business tomorrow, it's going to be, that's a huge expense.
Oh, yeah,
that's a huge investment.
Yes.
Those popcorn makers cost, if you can get them used somewhere in the $500 range, but they can cost upwards of $1,000.
Right.
The coffee maker, the coffee pods. Are you going to go with? I use pods here because it's cleaner and easier to deal with. Are you going to use that, or are you going to just brew coffee? Cups. Are you getting branded cups or not? Those are all things that you can do, but you don't want to obviously do out the gate. So how do you prioritize that versus knowing what your customer wants, but not overdoing it? I mean, you walk into, if it's too fancy, are they overcharging me?
Sure. Yeah. So yeah, I guess how do you balance that? I mean, how do you know?
I think it goes back to what we were talking about earlier: is knowing your audience.
Yeah.
Speaking to your audience, their audience is going to be young professionals, whether they're young or not. But you're walking in there, and you're going to spend an hour, probably, to have whatever done that you're having done. Giving you a space where you can have a little quiet, get some work done. We're in a mobile society, but they have Wi-Fi. Yeah, so providing that space where you don't mind being there means that you're going to be more likely to want to come back,
right? And
they're going to get your business. Whereas if you went to the quickie whatever, and they didn't have that, then you'd be stuck there on your phone, not getting any business done, not getting anything done, and it's not as, like you said, it's a draw for you. So you are their target audience.
Yeah, for sure.
If they wanted someone to come, if they wanted to do the quickie loop in and out in 10 minutes, then they're not going to have all that because they don't want to encourage you to stay.
Yeah,
so it also depends a lot about what you want to do with that person when they're coming in. Do you want them to sit down and be relaxed for a little bit? Do you want them to get in and out? I mean, how is that flow going?
Right. Yeah. I would say, I guess like you said, it's about who it is you're trying to cater to. And like you said, well, I guess like most people use, like everybody has a smartphone right now, right? So everybody's gonna want to get on, the internet if you have Wi-Fi. Because that's just what we do as humans now.
Yeah,
this is a part of
10 years ago when everyone was charging for it.
Right.
And so it was a big deal to get away for
crazy.
free.
Yeah. I was just thinking about that. It's kind of like how we were charged by the minute or by text. Remember that?
Oh my God, yes.
Every time you were charged like 30 cents for text, and you're like, okay, and I've got to send a long line. Oh God, it was like you see your bill. It's like, oh my God.
Counting the characters.
But like you said, Wi-Fi. That's a commodity, I guess you're saying, that you're freely offering to clients or customers that are coming into your store. And like, it made me think of Facebook. Facebook, when you have a business page, they are really trying to push this thing where they call it Facebook Wi-Fi.
Oh, where you go in, and if you have a Facebook, it automatically tags you. You jump on the Wi-Fi,
yes,
automatically checks you into Facebook.
Right. Yeah. So if you have to put your whatever the name of your network is, your Wi-Fi network, and then the password, and then if somebody comes and they're close in and they're on Facebook, Facebook will offer them, hey, these people have Wi-Fi. Do you want to jump on? They'll say yes, and it'll automatically check them into your location, which is, it's kind of smart. I haven't really tried it or tested that out to see how well it works, but it's a good idea.
I don't have that activated here, but I have helped people do that with their businesses.
It's a good idea. It's kind of like when I go to coffee shops or something. When I'm at a coffee shop, obviously I'm going to be there for a little while because I like to drink coffee and do work while I'm there. So I'm going to want to jump on the Wi-Fi. It is there's no like standard place that a coffee shop puts their password for their Wi-Fi. And so that's a pain. You're always having to look around. Like if you ever go to like any coffee shops at all, other than like Starbucks or something like that, which I don't ever go. So I always go to like the mom and pop type of places. They've got signs and colors and art everywhere. So you're looking everywhere on the ceiling, on the floor, trying to find where's the password. And so like that's really useful to.
Well, and that makes another point. Yeah. If you're going to be offering these things, how are you making them available to your customers? Are you making it easy for them? If they're having to come in and they can't find the Wi-Fi, they're going to think maybe it's not available, and not everyone's going to ask.
Sure.
So if you want people to take advantage of these things and make it sure they understand that they can have them.
Right. Yeah. As far as like offering consumables, I guess in shop, because I don't typically, I don't have walk-in people like you do. So I'm usually having to go to them, and so they're the ones that are providing something, or we're just going out and getting lunch together. But like when we do have like chamber meetings or something, and like I'm the presenter that day, then I will bring food, for everybody to eat. But I like to do things the cheapest as possible. You know what I mean? So I like to save money. And plus, it puts an extra little, I guess, bit of character into whatever it is I'm doing. So like I'll usually bake something, some sort of bread or something I made that night. You know what I mean? And bring it in for everybody. Or I've done donuts and English muffins, that type of stuff. And so. Because flour, water, egg, all that stuff is inexpensive. And so I just got to put in a little bit of time in that. And then if you don't know how to bake, then you got to learn how to do that. But after you got that skill down, though, like it's infinitely useful because there will always be situations where you can do something.
Sure.
But yeah, like you said with the popcorn maker, me being the thrifty. So I would say if you're going to try to offer something to someone, the very first, like consumables, like you said, if you're trying to offer something for people in your lobby, or somebody that just drops by in your office or whatever it is, wherever you're at, or maybe you just want to bring gifts to clients or customers, start with what you already have or what's available to you, because you may not have the popcorn maker, but one of your relatives does, your family member, your uncle used to have a business that did this, and he's had this popcorn maker in his garage for a while. Get it out, clean it up, fix it up. And so like it's easy to find without having to be like, I'm specifically looking for this kind of, this kind of machine, you know what I mean? But look what's available to you already.
Yeah, get on Facebook Marketplace, Craigslist, whatever, and just kind of see what's available.
Oh man, it's crazy what people get rid of too, because they'll get those things as gifts from other family members, and they'll just keep them in the box, never even take it out, never use it, And that's like how my wife was with the soda stream. She loves her soda stream and making her own sodas at home and stuff. But like, got it for free because she was like, I'm thinking about buying one of these things. And I was like, you're going to use that twice and then never use it again. But I was like, that's just like everybody else. And I was like, oh yeah, well.
It's like a treadmill.
So some people are probably trying to get rid of theirs then. And so
yeah, that's true. And then there's people like me also. My husband uses it every night. Yeah. So it was one of those things like, will we use it, will we not? I don't know. But then now we got 3 cold bottles in the refrigerator because he uses it every night. Yeah. Don't run out and spend a whole bunch of money. Yeah. Even if you can budget it, just make sure that it also makes sense. Like, you don't want to if you're going to have someone come in and do something, if they're coming in to do blood work, you don't want to have them eating candy in the lobby.
Right.
So if they're gonna need their hands to do something, maybe not give them something sticky or popcorn. Yeah. If they're going to, there's various different things you'd be having going on in your business, but don't make sure whatever it is you're offering doesn't contradict that.
Sure. Yeah, that's a good point. I didn't even think about that. I was like, I don't want people with sticky hands coming in touching my stuff, or buttery fingers. Right. So you're constantly having to wipe it down. So that's crazy. I had a thought there and it went away.
Well, then there's a lot of things that are considered consumables, and we'll give you a moment to think here, that you wouldn't think of. So there's, I used to have regular coffee cups, then I got branded sleeves. Sure. So instead of actually paying for the coffee cups, which would have been a lot more expensive, the sleeves were a quarter of just a tiny little bit of that price. So I buy generic coffee cups and put a branded sleeve on it. It's still a branded cup. We also have, we have candy sitting around and things of that nature. We have little snacks for people. I've had people come in before that ended up having low blood sugar because for whatever reason, and having that on hand made it nice to just have that. And right. It also so if people have something to do, whether it be eat a piece of candy or make a cup of coffee or whatever, they're willing to stay longer. So if you're running behind, it's a good way to delay them without having them get angry or irritated with you. And like I said, I also have disposable covers for some of the things that we use. Those are considered consumables. They're not going to, if I say, well, you can use those headphones, but it's going to cost you an extra 50 cents for the covers, they're not going to use it, so it's defeating the purpose. Right. Or they're going to feel like you're nickel and diming them. So you provide that at no additional charge, or at least we do. So thinking about, whatever your type of business is, what complements that, and then make sure it's within budget, and then also make sure that, you make the decision whether, you could say, okay, part of your subscription includes one pair of disposables or one pair of whatever. I went to a nail salon one time where they made you pay $1 for a box, and then they saved your file and whatever in the box. So when you came back, you just used that same file and box. And when your file and your box got dull, they replaced it for free because your $1 was for the box. Right. So things like that.
Interesting. So in your experience, has it helped your business? Has it boosted because everybody's looking at their bottom line, right? So for me, it's vibe. A lot of my business has to do with how people feel. They have to come in and feel like they're in a good space. Sure. And I could absolutely do my job in a much smaller location without nice furniture, and with that, I could just have the bare minimum, and it would still be me. But I don't think I would attract the target clientele that I'm going for, which wants to feel a little more high-end. They want to come in and be able to have a cup of coffee, to sit down in a comfortable chair and have Wi-Fi and just feel like they're in a place that they want to spend time and money. Right. And that's because that's my brand. And my brand is not a luxury, but it's definitely high-end. Okay. So by spending a little bit on these little things, it also makes a better experience for them, so that they keep coming back, or somebody's first time coming in trying to just talk to you about what you do, maybe it makes a better experience and they'll become a client.
So one of the things that I do with my clients is I give them tea before they leave. And first-time clients are always, that makes an impression. Yeah. They are always like, oh, thank you. Even people that don't like tea are like, oh, thank you, because it's different. Every massage place gives you water, everyone. Sometimes they'll give you a cup, sometimes they'll give you a bottle, or they'll give you nothing, one of the three. So I take the time to brew tea. And that has made such an impact that I have people coming in and go where's my tea?
Interesting.
So being able to just do that one little thing, which I've been doing from the beginning because it's super cheap. Tea was super cheap. I didn't have anything branded in the beginning. Right. I just brewed some tea. And then as I went on, I started making it a little bit more marketable. But that one little thing set me apart. And I have so many people that have copied that, and I'm fine with that. I'm not, I don't own tea, but it's just gives people that extra little experience that
Yeah.
they're not getting everywhere else, and it didn't cost me much.
That's awesome. It also has me thinking of like what gifts. Like, okay, so for the chamber, again, which is this is where most of my human interaction comes from. You know what I mean? So that's why I'm always having to come back to this.
Hey, you know what? We're coming from an autobiographical position, which we're both different, which is why we bounce that off. I don't go to the chamber, so
Right. So we have what we call a swag bag, right? And so a swag bag is what the members of the Vanguard, which is pretty much like a welcome committee. So we get to throw promotional items with our business logos, whatever you want, into the bag, so that each time we go to a ribbon cutting, we give them a complimentary bag that has all these items and our business cards and stuff inside of it, so that hopefully they'll look at it, they'll use the stuff, and they'll think of us next time they need that type of service, right? So best case scenario is I put something in there that has American Business Engine and something about websites. And then when it comes to needing a website, somebody has something of mine there that they're like, okay, let's call this guy and see what he says about it, or at least get a quote. So that's the idea. But those just like consumables, those things cost. Oh my gosh! Like you were talking about the branded coffee cups and all that. Those things are ridiculously expensive, and like you can only there's a minimum order of like 150. You know what I mean? It's like you see a price and you're like, oh, $3. Okay, great. And then it's like a minimum order of 150. You're like, okay, that's why. So if you're ordering just like one cup, it's anywhere between $15 to $25. For one coffee cup, and that's just not doable for a lot of small businesses that are trying to give something to a client or somebody that's a potential client. So with no guarantee that you're going to make that money back, being smart about whatever it is that you put into the bag. And so like I'll print off flyers. I'll go to Vistaprint or whatever and just get a stack of like, what are they like 4 or 2.5 by 5 I think flyers, and put those in there, the cardstock, you know what I mean, with a little bit more information on there. But like I'm looking right now as like what's an extra little thing that I can throw in there that
take a piece of candy to it.
Yeah, I could.
If you make it to where it stacks neatly, it's going to go in a stack.
Okay.
If you make it to where it doesn't stack neatly, they're going to pick that up to find out why it doesn't go in that stack, and they're going to have to remove the thing you attached to it.
Okay.
And then while they're doing that, they'll read it.
Okay, so you think like taping some candy to the card would be
and then when your business grows, and a year from now, tape that piece of candy that has your logo on it. Always stuff it up a little bit, but just take a Lifesavers mint individually wrapped and tape it to it. Anything that keeps whatever you have from stacking neatly. Because I've had those before. I've had a couple of ribbon cuttings, and everything went in a stack. But the things that didn't stack, I was like, oh, what's in here? What's that? And I went through it a little bit more deeply. So
that's true. Yeah.
Getting anything you can get people, and this is in all your marketing and all your business. Anything that gets your person to pause on your business name improves your return.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And I'll see some businesses like we went to, where would we go? Ribbon cutting for the scrub spot, which is a genius for their idea of a shop inside the hospital that sells scrubs. Like, your clients.
Spill some blood on me. I guess I can go get.
Who your clients are. I mean, they sell like really comfortable walking shoes and that type of stuff. Everything like the RNs and everybody and the doctors and everybody would need there. But we went there and they gave us each a swag bag, everybody that was there, no matter where you were from, and they had. So it was like the canvas bag with their logo on the outside of it. There was a lanyard. There was pins, of course. Those are the common ones. Which I'm not a fan of pins being a promotional item because like everybody does that and like you just gather them all up.
I agree, and I like a good pen. So I'm actually currently looking on all through my pens to find a pen, to get a branded pen, not because it's a good marketing investment, but because I like pens.
Okay.
And I want to have good, solid pens on me. And when anyone wants a pen, I'm like, here's a pen. I'm like, oh, that's a good pen. And if you're going to get pens, let me tell you, try your pen out first. Don't get a sample, try it out first. Because if it's a crap pen, it's going right to the trash.
Okay.
But if it's a good pen, and it doesn't have to be an expensive pen, it just has to be made well, with feels good, has a nice weight to it, good ink. Then that's going to stay in my bag. Now, I don't necessarily know that I'm going to go to whatever that person is, but I have had someone say something to me before about whatever it is they were looking for, and I'm like, oh, hey, here's a pen.
Yeah.
It wasn't even my business, but I handed it on because I didn't have their business card on me, but I kept their pen because I liked their pen. Now, this new person has been given the referral, the contact information, and a good pen.
Nice. I like that.
I put a lot of thought into this.
You have, yeah. And so, I was just thinking about that bag that they're giving out to people, and like how much like per bag that this was, and then added up and all the different. And it's like, wow, they spent a lot of money on that, and we weren't, we weren't even their typical clients. You know what I mean? But like I did post, I put all the stuff on the table, took a picture, posted it, and hey, Scrub Spot's open. This is what they did. Da 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 da. And so yeah, maybe somebody will see that and be like, okay, well I can go swing by there.
When I got my swag bag from the ribbon cutting, I went through everything that was in there in the video and called out every business because
Did you?
One of the things that you can do to really gain some leverage.
That's an awesome idea. I like that.
In
like an unboxing
yeah,
video.
but I did it for all of them and then tag them in the post.
That's
is that
cool.
cross promotion? So by you tagging them or you reaching out to them, you're not only saying, "Hey, I recognize you," but then you're reaching their followers.
Okay.
So you come out, I opened up and I put everything, took everything at one at a time, and I'm like, "Look, it's a business card from so and so," even the silly things, and then I'm like, "Oh, great coffee cup that says this," and just went through every single thing in the bag, and on a live post and then went back and tagged some people. So that gave me a lot of reach, a lot of content without having to really work for it because they already gave that to me. So then everyone who got that was like,
awesome.
Thanks so much.
Yes.
So then I ingratiated myself as a business owner to them.
Right.
See all the little
I do see it. That's genius. That's like, that's why you always have the best ideas. That's great. But yeah, think about the cost of all that. That's like they probably lost out on some of that. But like you said, it gives them a little bit more marketable reach. You know what I mean? It's stuff that you can't, like you can pay for clicks all day long on Facebook ads, but like, are you really reaching the people that are going to become customers or clients? Probably not.
The best return ROI you're going to get is word of mouth. That is the absolute best.
For sure.
And it doesn't. And this is the thing is you don't have to be my client for you to refer me. You just have to believe in me.
Yeah.
And know who I am.
Right.
So we can have this conversation. You get to know me as a person. You think, okay, this is a legitimate person. They're knowledgeable. Someone comes up and says, I need this service. You know that I do that service. You're like, hey, I know a guy or a gal, whatever.
Right.
So that you can, then that is still word of mouth. Even though you haven't personally experienced that you're still doing the referrals. And people trust a referral more than that's why reviews do so well.
100%.
So a human referral, like one-to-one, is going to get the most weight. And then reviews, much more than any advertising about how great my widget is other people's opinion of your widget.
Yeah, for sure. And their impression of you. So like this helps that impression. You're telling a small story about your company, to these people because they're seeing, this person actually cared to actually put all this stuff together. And this is amazing.
You walk into a business and then there's coffee. They took the time to think about you.
Yes.
So then you're like, well, they thought about me. Obviously that they're thinking outside the box. Obviously they're not super cheap. Obviously they're not giving Starbucks, but they're giving, whatever.
Right.
And so being able to also have that first impression by being generous, being open, being that giving that first impression front of a small consumable, then you make that first step to keeping that client.
It works on me. Anywhere you have coffee up front, I'm going to choose you every time. Like when I was going to Anytime Fitness gyms, right? So I was a member of that. The one I was at in my area, there was nothing, no extra anythings, whatever. I mean, so I was just jumping around. It's like I've got this membership card where I can go to any of these gyms in the area or wherever they are in the world. And just see how each one is different. And so I went to one in North Little Rock, and I walk in, and they had a full coffee bar and everything right there in the front. And I'm like, well, this is awesome. Okay, great. I never thought about this. And I was like, why don't we have that in every one of them? And it's like it's up to the individual owners of each club to be able to do that. But yeah, I was thinking about like what's something else that I can put into the bag, and like using whatever resources are available to me, minimal cost. I have access to 3D printers and that type of stuff, and so I'm like trying to think of like what would be a good like smaller item that I can print multiple of at one time. You know what I mean?
I don't have.
Then,
I know how 3D printers work, but I don't know how. I don't know if you have to do multiples or anything like that. So that's
yes.
whatever.
Well, so think about, okay, so if I wanted to create like a keychain medallion, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so keychain medallion, I just need to create the design file for one, but then I can make multiple, block them all up right there, and so it prints them all together, and I just snap each one off, and then I've got individuals.
There you go. So you think about your target audience. Is your target audience going to want a plastic keychain, or are they going to want maybe a golf marker?
A what?
Golf marker.
What is a golf marker?
Obviously, you don't play golf.
I don't play golf at all.
So when you play golf, you drive and you do your fairways, and then you get to the green.
Uh-huh.
And yeah, obviously a hole in one. That's great, but most people don't get that. You putt towards the hole and you miss, and then you take your golf marker and you put it where your ball is. You pick your ball up, and the next person goes.
Oh wow.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Was it like the little tees, the spikes?
No, they're like little round medallions. They're usually the size of about a quarter.
Okay.
Made of different materials, just flat. You can put a logo on them. I have a lot of times they'll make them. The new ones are metal, and they'll put them on a magnet on the brim of your hat, so you can just pull it off of your hat. And
Okay. Yeah. I put golf marker in there, and of course the entire top line of results are services where you can put your logo here, your logo here, your logo here, your logo here. Everybody do this.
So if you have the ability to do your own printing, that's something that you could do for yourself.
That's cool. So is it a coin, or does it have like a spiky back of it?
No, it's just a coin.
Interesting.
It just lays there because the grass in the green is barely thicker than carpet. And you just want to mark where your ball is so that the other person doesn't hit your ball because all the rules of golf.
Okay. Why couldn't you do this with a quarter or something?
You can.
Just people choose not to?
Well, you want one that's different than your buddies.
Now we're learning about golf because I don't know anything about golf. Yeah. So anyway. Okay. Well, that's interesting.
So anyway, golf
and maybe a good gift, like we have the upcoming golf tournament in the summer. That'd be a great thing to.
So that would be something interesting.
Yeah.
That's another thing. If you're to think about the bag that you're going in, if it's for a golf target audience, maybe a branded golf marker or ball marker or something along that lines that you can attach to your flyer.
Yeah.
That will make it not stack properly.
Okay. I like it. It's got my mind going. Okay. Very interesting. So as far as consumables and all that, do you have anything else you want to add to that? I know it sort of adds to the atmosphere. It gives an impression.
It is a cost of business that you should consider when you have a brick and mortar place, because it is a huge percentage of your first impression, and don't take it too far. Yeah.
Well, I mean, just like anything else, it's a marketing strategy.
Mm-hmm.
Like you got to look at okay, what was the cost? Okay, what was the ROI, like you said, and then what did I make off of that? And so is the amount that you're spending worth the amount that you are actually receiving back from clients?
It's hard to judge on a consumable because it makes their life better and easier and simpler, and leads to impressions. So you're not actually going to make any real dollars off that. There's no dollars that are going to come from that. But do you feel like you have better retention for your services because of the consumables?
That's what I was going to say. So their continued business is probably a sign of that.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how you would measure that. That or somebody that came in for the first time, and like you said, they come in for the first time that you offered them tea. You know what I mean? And then you end up gaining that person as a client because that really made an impression on them, right? So awesome. Well, thank you for that. I learned a lot. So I don't normally just sit in a brick and mortar and have people that come in and see me and stuff. So that's new to me.
Well, I think that's another reason that it's fun for us to talk, because we come from completely different experiences.
Yeah.
From the almost entirely digital and networking world to I actually have a shop that you have to walk into and experience the services here.
It's funny because I just saw a post yesterday from one of my clients, and they are career staffing service, and they were highlighting one of the employees that sits up front at the front entry desk. Like when you come in, there's a waiting room, and then there's the glass partition, but they always take your applications and that type of stuff. And anyways, they were highlighting her and why she's the sweetest person around, that type of thing. And they were talking about how she's got this candy bowl on her desk, and feel free to ask her for a chocolate. She'll gladly give you one. And I thought that was interesting that you were making a whole post about this person, and then you were just adding the consumables type of thing.
Well, that created the engagement. So if you're a very shy person and you see the can and you're like, man, I could really use some chocolate, you may not ask.
Is that theirs?
But they gave you the invitation to ask, so you know it's okay. So maybe you'll ask, and then you have that engagement.
Because I've been in places where like I didn't know if it was, you know, sometimes like they'll have stuff for the employees out towards the front, towards the waiting area, but
you're like,
like,
can I have
is this ours or is this not? But like, no, that's only for employees. But we'll make this exception this one time. You know, what I mean, it's like that's weird. Why would you put it out here just to entice people?
Right.
And it's like that's going to turn me away from your business. That gives you a negative impression of you.
So I guess more than consumables, the topic ended up being impressions.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess it all ties together.
Well, yeah.
Just like everything you do, people, psychology, right?
Right.
So that's the biggest thing to learn whenever you're going into business is psychology. How people react to the things that you do or say, or what they're going to like, not like, making them that type of thing. Make them feel like they belong. That's oh my gosh, that's huge. Well, anyways, well, thank you for that subject. That was awesome.
I had fun.
Gave me a lot to think about, and I've got to think about what are some things I can put in this bag now. Like just taking a piece of candy, just strap it onto that's interesting. I would have never thought of the not stacking part because I've thought about like what did I do for the bags that I've gotten in previous ribbon cuttings for my own business, and like I'll get it, and usually I'm like whatever the biggest things are in there, you know, I make coffee cups and stuff like that. I'm grabbing that out because I'm a coffee drinker. Oh, it's got Starbucks sample in there. It's got a hot cocoa. It's got a mint and like all this other stuff, pens and stuff. That's cool. Like Computer Hut is really great about that. And they'll have it all wrapped up and stuff. So that's obviously the first thing I'll pull out and like take apart, and I'm like, ooh, I like this stuff. And then I'll have like other little smaller objects. Like there's one thing I didn't even know what it was until I wish I would have brought it with me to show you. But I've had one. It was like I won it 3 years ago, and like I kept seeing them in the bags, and I never knew what the hell it was. Like it just looks like a piece of plastic with a square. It's empty, hollow, and it's got a hook on the end. No instructions, no explanation or anything. But it had the logo of the company. I don't even remember what company it was now, which tells me something. But like I never knew what it was, and then my wife finally told me a couple of days ago or whatever it was, because I was like, do you know what this is? Because I kept coming across it, and she's like, oh yeah, it's for your charger. You put these square chargers in there, and it keeps your cords around here. And I was like, I've never seen one of these before anywhere else, and like nobody told me how to use this or what it was for.
A card with instructions on that would be a nice
one. And it didn't. And then I was like, and I was also trying to associate it with the business because the business was like a financial institution or something like that. So there was no technical connection there whatsoever. But like if you were a computer company or you sold accessories for iPhones or whatever it was, then that would make sense. I would look it up and be like, hey, does anybody know what this? Oh, okay, cool, that makes sense. But like it made absolutely no sense, and there were no instructions. It was just a piece of plastic just sitting in there, and I was like, okay, I don't want to do that.
Right.
That's bad. But like with the paper cards and stuff, like I would just I might flip through them real quick, you know what I mean? But then I'd stack them up and I'm going to put them over here, and then they get thrown away the next month. So
they get knocked off the desk, then they get thrown away.
Yes, because I'm pissed off because those things keep getting knocked off the desk. Yeah. So yeah. So that's a good way to stand out. Just strap a piece of candy on it. No? Nice. Okay, well, I guess we'll end this episode. If you are watching on YouTube, then we are available on Spotify and Google Podcasts and Apple Podcasts and all the places so that you...
I'm on Overcast. I think that's where I listen to my podcast.
Really?
And
what is Overcast?
Just another podcast.
Just another one? Okay, I've never heard that one. I know they have a million of them.
Yeah.
We're on Facebook. Do you know we have So we have Facebook podcasts now.
Really?
Yes. Like I've got the RSS feed stuck in there now, so that every time that we post on our regular channels, it automatically feeds it to Facebook's thing too, and it automatically makes a post for me, which is great. And then I'm able to just share that, and anybody can share it as a post for anybody.
For Facebook without having it devalued or something, because Facebook doesn't like it when you send people away from their site.
Right.
So by doing that, it goes into their site. Then when they share it, it stays in their site, and then it stays top of feed.
And it keeps up with the analytics too. So like when I'll go back into, like we use Anchor to distribute everything. That's no secret. So like I go into there and then it'll tell me, how many people are listening on Spotify or subscribed on there, and then Apple Podcasts, but Facebook is one of them too. So it's pretty interesting that we have listeners just everywhere, just everywhere. Spread them out everywhere.
Nice.
And also, if you were a podcast listener, then we are obviously on YouTube. You can search for us as Healthy Business Podcast. So yeah, anything else you need to add or come up with? No?
Like and subscribe.
Like and subscribe. I'm so torn on doing that every time. But people have to be asked and torn. We'll give you a piece of candy if you like and subscribe. We'll send you a crackle bar, one of those little mini individual sizes, or a tea that you can make yourself. How about that?
There we go.
Let's make you comfortable. All right. Well, until next time, keep your business healthy. All right.
We'll find out if the person's out there. Oh. I'm at a pie. He's types in the car. Oh, PI.